Welcome to the 9PL podcast, where we deep dive into the world of the Country Trucker Caps Nines Premier League and bring you the latest updates, insights, and discussions. Today, we are interviewing returning team North Coast Marlins with the great man Francis Bennett. Francis, welcome back, mate. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. We were just discussing earlier how we are amateurs when it comes to interviewing, but I think you're far better than me, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just finished work, straight online. Had a bit of a play around with the volume settings before, but yeah, doing well actually. Thanks for having us back. Obviously, that's the biggest thing for me.
No. We appreciate it. But I suppose for context, could you give us a bit of background? I mean, you were our inaugural teams, should I say, bringing two of them to our first ever tournament a couple of years ago. And then, you've obviously merged those two sides together and you created North Coast Marlins. Give us a bit of background. I remember interviewing yourself and your father actually at the Rochelle Tigers clubhouse a few years back and entering the side. Give us some history there for the listeners and the viewers, I suppose, about Francis Bennett and where he's at to now with the North Coast Marlins.
Yeah, so a few years ago now, we got a random email from a bloke about a nines comp down the Gold Coast, and sort of had a bit of a chat. And I was coaching at Rochelle Tigers at the time, and that is my family club. I'm a life member there. I gave them, 20 years of service in my life. They hold a special piece to my heart, and I thought it was a big opportunity for our community to obviously showcase, in such an event, come down the Gold Coast, get a few boys together. So we put our open side together. Um, and then on top of that, once I started started telling people about it, I started getting messages from guys I sort of played footy with and coached growing up, like as they were growing up as well. So I thought, instead of having one side, because I'm crazy about football, and everybody knows that who knows me, let's enter two sides. So we entered the Rochelle Tiger side, and then mix and match was our second side.
That's right.
We finalised with mix and match. Our Rochelle side didn't go too well, but that's sort of the history from where I started in the 9PL. And then I suppose last year I had an opportunity to sort of showcase myself, start a brand, have a logo, and I just sort of went all guns blazing. And that's where the North Coast Marlins come from. Like I said in my podcast last year, I can't take any credit for the name or the colour scheme or anything like that. That all comes from the wife. So yeah, that's sort of where the North Coast Marlins have come from. So
Yeah, it's a great story, and I think for a lot of teams and arguably a lot of, I suppose, potential entrants, they're seeing people like yourselves develop essentially their community over time that they've given years and years to a club. They're well known in the rugby league space, especially locally in that grassroots footy, which is the heart and soul of the game, and have figured out a way to essentially, I suppose, cash back in on some exciting players, exciting opportunities and time. And it's been awesome to see. You've been fantastic to work with. You're one of the great men of rugby league and a good friend of mine. So I've certainly appreciated it, and same with our whole broader 9PL team. But what for Francis Bennett and also the North Coast Marlins makes you want to return? I know that we were only given opportunity for the top 8 sides to return last year, and I was very keen on having that phone call to you, knowing that there could be some interest in coming back. But what makes you keen on coming back and having a run with these boys?
so for the North Coast Marlins, I've actually sort of this year, and it hasn't been online or anything. I've sort of with the logo, I've actually done some merch and stuff like that in order to get the boys down there this year. But I felt underdone last year. I'm not going to lie. I thought we were, I thought we were great on day one. Um, but day two, living up to legacy, like those faces that were in front of us, the Alex Glens and the Corey Normans and the Josh Hoffmans, I was pretty gutted, to be honest with you, the way we sort of went out in it. So um, my recruitment sort of started from then. It didn't start sort of, months down the track. It was like, no, well, we made the top 8, so we definitely wanted to come back. Um, so that's the recruitment side of it. And then, like like I've said in all my sort of chats with you, it's about opportunity too. Like, for all the players that play under my logo, like that's the big thing to me. Like,
Hmm.
and it has taken years. Like, it doesn't take. It's not an overnight thing. Like, I've been doing this for 13 or 14 years coaching. Um, so to be able to bring players and get them to play under North Coast Marlins, which is something that I set up myself. Um, yeah, that's a big thing for me too. So leading into this one.
Yeah, I um, I remember speaking to you actually just after. I think you'd said thanks for the game, and yeah, I saw the genuine disappointment in your efforts, I suppose, in trying to pull together the best team you possibly could to chance your hand at possibly making it higher and higher. But I think, with all respect, I mean, you're playing against a stack of ex NRL guys, but I don't think that um, stopped you from achieving, from what you did as well. I think that was something that was obviously noticed by many teams. I mean, you chance your hand against some really, really tough sides and end up getting over the top of them. And certainly something that you've learnt from last year is the recruitment size of things.
Mm.
What I learnt on setup was that you have every single I suppose item you need to be able to camp. I think you brought 5 6x3 gazebos to house your players and make sure everyone was in there. So they were definitely well
Yeah.
looked after. But was there any other key learnings or any other things that made you genuinely interested about coming back and playing in this competition?
Yeah. So I learned last year the young stock. That's a big thing coming into this one. So this year I've I've left my family club, and I'm now coaching in the BRL. So up at Balimba there. So fortunately enough for me, I've sort of got to know a few guys, and got to know the BRL and recruitment side of thing. Yeah, the BRL boys will be coming down the Gold Coast, but there'll be a few boys through Ipswich, and then the Gold Coast sort of cut fringe, A grade fringe. But yeah, that young stock I found that was the day two thing. Like, um, we had a couple of old bulls, but I felt like we just needed a few more young guns to sort of stand up. So I've definitely got that talent coming down from that, like I said, from Balimba and BRL and stuff like that.
Oh, I suppose. Well, let's dive into that a little bit further. Which players are you looking to retain from last year, and who are
Yep.
you looking to recruit? I mean, there was your Campbells of the world, and I know that you missed the great hitman Hobbs, last year as well. He did his knee, but they wouldn't look out of place in a Queensland Cup team given the right training regime. But who are you looking to retain from last year, and then who are you looking to recruit?
So Hitman's back this year. He's come back from an ACL. Um, he's trained really well, and he just played in a big dance. Unfortunately, we lost it together, but he's back and he's raring to go. And if anybody remembers him from year one, man, I reckon he was one of the best.
Yeah, yeah, he was.
He's dynamic. His skill level's crazy.
His engine, he's got an
And he
engine as
won't let you
well.
down. So
He just keeps going.
yeah,
He's super
yeah,
fit.
yeah. The tank on him's crazy. So retain. He was the manager last year, but he'll be playing this year. Hitman Hobbs. I got Campbell Peary. So he's at Helensvale Hornets, but he was also the Gold Coast Vikings halfback this year in the Chairman's Challenge. So he'll be back
He's one of my favourite
retaining
Nines
as
players,
well.
man. Like he's easily one of my favourite players to watch. And I know that
Yeah,
last year he was sort of on the fence with coming back in, and he was a late entry, and I was stoked that he had him back on there. And yeah, geez, he performed well when he knows rugby league. He's great to watch.
yeah, yeah. He's just a dude too. Like, he's a good person.
Yep.
But when it comes to effort, on top of effort and on top of effort, and we all need that in the nines, I know Campbell's going to turn up for me too. So
Yeah.
he's helping me with a bit of recruitment, a few boys that he knows in the Gold Coast as well. So that's good. But retaining, so Curtis Rowe, he was massive for us last year. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
So he's back. If he's fit, he's definitely back. So he's retained. Um, there's a couple others, but one more retained guy, Isaac Ford.
Oh yeah.
He
Right.
played out in the centres. but he's actually a centre back rower now. He played out. He just won a comp for Ipswich Brothers at A grade.
There you
He's
go.
playing back row for Ipswich Brothers. Possibly the other forward brother, but there's some things up in the air for him at the moment. So
Okay.
they're sort of our retained players. There's a couple others, but um, new stock. And again, like I said, I've sort of done some video and checked some boys out through the BRL. But I'll give this guy a mention because he played club footy with me all year. He's a fringe A grade player. Sort of got he was playing in the with Brisbane Tigers Colts. Got in a couple of injuries. And just always had that setback and never had the full motion in a full year. But this year he's had a full crack hole. So he's like my general of generals, Paddy Holt.
Okay.
Young kid, comes from the country, biggest smile on his face, man. But when it comes to digging in and getting it done, he'll be there.
Great.
Who else can I say? I've got a couple of old goats, but I'll leave them for the day. I think I don't want to
Yeah.
play all my cards early and
No,
up
no.
front. But
Yeah, we'll do a catch-up podcast in a couple of months, mate. I'm going to do that with all the teams, and I know that you'll probably have a strict training regime for these fellas pre and post Christmas as well. The way that you'll prepare, so I'll be looking forward to seeing
yeah,
what you're putting them through, which would be great. But we are encouraging all of our teams to have a not-for-profit arm. Have you got a charity of choice, or are you looking into a charity? Is there a cause that you're after that you can speak on?
yeah. So we're looking at men's mental health. Not 100% sure which way we'll go, but we're definitely looking at men's mental health. And for me personally, the years I didn't put myself and get involved in football in my early 20s was sort of when I struggled. So it was a no brainer for me, men's mental health. And the stats are crazy these days, and footy's this opportunity. If you are struggling. And you're struggling on, in January, late January, well, come down, get amongst it, come see the teams. Like, we're all open arms too. Like, we're not just there to play footy. Like, we're there to have a good time and help people laugh and just get on with their day too. So if you are struggling, by all means, pop over to the Marlins and we'll have a chat.
Yeah, bloody oath. That is wonderful, and you're dead right. Like it is. Sport brings so much, and it brings so much that people don't see behind the closed doors, and it drives that purpose of being part of community. And I think, depending on whoever you choose, men's mental health, women's mental health in general is fantastic, but particularly men's mental health, given that you'd spoken personally about some experiences that you've had to overcome as well, and I suppose you're a bit of a shining light in that regard, where a lot of players actually seek conversations from you, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that you should be super proud of, mate. So I'm looking forward to seeing sort of how we build that up and how we can include your not for profit once you finalise one. But I suppose that's who you guys are supporting, and you're supporting everyone in that regard, whether it's a conversation or bringing people along to the event. But who's back sponsoring you guys? Who's helping you out for next year, and I suppose assisting you in your entry?
So we have a few this year. We don't have. Well, I think we had 3 to 4 last year. I think we got about 8 or 9 this year. So
You're
we
making
have
more money than
retained
the
extra.
competition, Francis. Bloody hell.
Well, you know what? I feel like some of those guys might have brought a comp last year. So
Mate, there's no doubt in
I,
my mind.
I think it's only fair, man. Like, I think it's only fair. If we're gonna play dollars and cents, we'll play dollars and cents. So, um, but we have returning X2 projects. They're the boys I work for, Tim and Sam.
Yeah,
Um,
shout out.
anything carpentry related, shop fit outs, everything. They'll build anything and everything. So Tim and Sam, they're giving back. They're great dudes. They always support me. They have heaps of belief in me, so they're definitely back. Addy and the boys from Bear Electrical, again, they're everything electrical, from housing to commercial to shop fit outs, stuff like that. They're all back as well. So I also have Shrama Rugby League. So Lukey Shrama, who I actually met at the Nines Carnival a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
first one. Yeah, Lukey put it aside
Um,
with his brother Matt.
he did, yeah. So the old bull's actually going to play too. So if he's fit, he said he's going to play. So
He better get
for me
fit.
personally, someone with experience like Luke, man, that's crazy. So I'll definitely have him. So yeah, Lukey Shrama Rugby League. Um, we've got JJ Sheet Metal, Joshy there. So they're like air conduct and they're Gold Coast based.
Awesome.
I've just actually just got a couple today as well come through. So I've just got Beanley Muffler Brakes and Mechanical, and that's Chris and Sarah. So they're up at Beanley. They're a family-owned business, so they've just come on board. I've actually met them through my brother-in-law who works for them. I also have CBS Commerce Building Services, so that's Peter. Met them through a personal friend of mine. Met Peter through a personal, so they're all building side of aspects. As far as I'm aware of, it's all Queensland based. They work out of Queensland. I've also got David Smash Repairs Mark there. So the X2 project boys actually passed me on to Mark. He's just on the edge of New South Wales there, so they've helped us out there too. And I can't pronounce this one, and I am sorry, Manai, because I'm friends with you and I should be able to pronounce this one.
You're in
But
trouble.
I'm going to say ACO Civil, but I definitely know it's not that because I know Manai to a T, and it'd be like Chur, aka Civil. So I'll say that's Manai and Tisha. Manai's a good friend of mine. Played footy with me last year, so they've
Yep.
come on board, and they're all civil based in Brisbane. So
Wow.
there's a few to notch off the belt for the boys that have
Far out,
got a bit of
man.
money for teams and players. So.
Unbelievable. Jeez. Well, it sounds like you've got plenty of support, blue collar people who are just, this is the community that you're building, and as well as the boys and the players who are getting around this team, mate. The energy coming from the Marlins is super exciting to see. I suppose there have been a couple of teams talk about you guys in the podcast that I've spoken with, and what I'd love to ask you is who are you looking forward to coming up against, or I suppose not coming up against in the competition for next year?
Well, I'm not playing, so it doesn't really bother me who we play because I just coach from the sideline, so the body doesn't really get hurt. But obviously, the international teams, I think it's super exciting. Like what you've done too, like to be able to get these teams over into Australia, who have that sevens background, and they obviously fly across the world and they give everybody a spanking. Well, you're coming to our town and you're going to play nines rugby league, so I'd like to see you turn up. That's my biggest thing. Um, Me personally, though, I'd love to have a crack at Legacy again, though.
Yep.
Um, that's just to sort of settle my score, and I think having another opportunity there would be great. Um, and then you can't go past the Southern Sharks boys. They've gone back to back. Like winning a premiership's one thing, but going back to back in such a big comp, if we get a crack at them, we'll definitely have a crack with them. So yeah, I'm just keen to play anyone really.
Yep. Yep. I think Legacy they'll be pretty good again. I know that Alex is similar to yourself in terms of competitive nature. He'll be recruiting as best as he possibly can, and but like you'd said, they unfortunately went down to the Southside Dogs, or now known as the Dogs, due to
Yep.
young stock. You need to have young stock who can turn up on day two and be able to have a run around and actually do all the repeat effort stuff. It can be brutal on the body, even though people might assume that an 18-minute game isn't that much, but it's high intensity, and yeah, we'll be looking forward to seeing those guys. You'd obviously mentioned the international teams as well. We've got two coming over from New Zealand. Matakisi is the rugby sevens side, and then we've got the Port Moresby Vipers as well. But a few local teams here that'll I'll be doing some podcasts with coming up, and they'll certainly chance their hand as well, which would be really handy to have a look at once we finalise the draw. We're going to be doing it a little bit earlier this year. We're actually going to do it in November, so you guys have more time to prep, and we can do a bit more artwork and do some matchups as to who's playing who. But yeah, certainly plenty of teams to look out for. Who are you? I suppose what are you looking to get out of the Nines, if anything?
Like North Coast Marlins again, like it's that personal touch of mine. Like it's and anyone who says they don't play rugby league to win, well, I think they're fibbing personally. Like, it's not always about winning, and I completely get that. But again, it's, the preseason bash that everybody's been at it since November. And I get to be able to bring those guys sort of into my circle and offer them something, and again, playing up against all those ex-NRL guys, like this opportunity doesn't just come overnight. Like,
Mm.
and I've said it before and I'll say it again, like what you've done to this competition and be able to get these guys, on that Australia Day long weekend is amazing. Like, there'd be guys out there, in all teams that have watched these guys growing up and they get to tackle them, or, they get
Mm.
to try and tackle them. So I think that aspect of it as well. Um, Again, like, family and friends, like last year we had a big support, everybody around us as well. So, getting everybody back together is a really big thing too. So, because club footy's crazy for me, man. So,
Mm.
as much as I want to, touch in and see everyone and all that stuff, like it takes up a lot of my time. So, to be able to get them to come down and support and have a bit of a laugh and get some boys to run some water and stuff like that. That it's also that too. So, and I said it again in my first podcast, but it comes down to that winning value and
Yep.
that desire. So, I feel like lifting the trophy would be amazing, but a $30,000 check in the mail would be even better. So,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. You'll have to send some money back to Mania, or I'll have to get you another podcast so you can pronounce their business properly. But I've asked this of all the teams. Who would be one current NRL player that you would want to have play for the mighty North Coast Marlins?
I was thinking about this today, and everybody's saying like a Reece Walsh or a Kalen Ponga. But I would say, overall, I think Stephen Crichton
Oh yeah,
is one of the best, if not the best, outside back in the world at the moment. So I think he'd be deadly coming into the line and just jamming
yeah,
blokes, and then just give him
100%.
one-on-ones, just give him one-on-ones and just let him do his thing. So yeah, I think Stephen Crichton.
Mate, his range, like he's like an albatross when his arms are out, but
Oh
then when he's in full flight, he
man,
takes like 2 or 3 steps and he's done 10 meters, like fast
yeah,
as.
crazy.
That's a great shout.
Yep,
That is a great shout. That's a
yep.
coach's head. I've been asking teams of other teams who are entering and they're footy boys, so they think about what's hot and glitzy. But yeah, I think he's tough. He can defend really well, but geez, his attacking
Mm,
ability, you could put him in multiple positions, and I reckon nines definitely would suit him, mate. So good shout there. I'll have to pencil that one down as well. So when he retires in 30
if he
years'
wants to
time,
play too,
yeah, chuck on
if
a
he wants to
Marlins
play,
jump.
I've got enough sponsors to get him up here if he
Yeah,
wants
yeah.
to. So
Mate, shout out Stephen if you're available, mate. I'm sure Francis, the way that he's going with his sponsorship, will be able to swindle something, even though you're on $1 million at the Dogs. But we'll see how we go.
that's all
But
right, mate.
that's right. But no, mate, I appreciate it as always. Love your effort and your energy behind all this. I'm certainly not in this alone. I've got a team behind me as well that are assisting in making this come to life, and we're bringing it to life together, and having people like yourselves join and be part of it and bring the community along with you is just a really wonderful addition that enriches our competition. So. Thank you very much, mate, for your time, and I appreciate you whizzing home down the M1 to quickly jump on for a chat with us. I look forward to catching up in a couple of weeks, a couple of months' time, and getting an update on the North Coast Marlins.
Perfect. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having us.